Hello and welcome to our second at-home children program. This week will be a bread baking activity in honor of Museum Month 2021, presented by Brant Museum and Archives, with special guest Penelope. This week's at-home children's program activity is inspired by Brantford's own Alice Nixon. Alice Nixon is better known as the wife of Harry Nixon, Ontario's 13th Premier. Besides being a devoted and supportive wife and mother, Alice was a skilled bread maker. Before marriage, she worked as a cereal chemist, testing wheat for bread flour, and taught cereal chemistry at the Ontario Agricultural College. She never lost her love of bread making and shared her knowledge and love with her children and grandchildren. Alice was also a major supporter in the Women's Institute movement, inspired by Adelaide Hunter Hoodless. She was instrumental in the founding of the Macdonald Institute, which is now part of the University of Guelph. In honor of Alice Nixon and her love of bread making, the Brant Museum and Archives have created this activity for parents and children to do together, as Alice did with her own children and grandchildren.
Hello and welcome. My name is Sarah, and this is the Brant Museum and Archives weekly at-home children program. And this is my assistant Penelope, and we'll be taking you through this fun activity for a family bread making activity. So baking bread can be a fun activity for the whole family. For kids of any age can help or do it. Penelope here is 3. It's also a perfect activity to keep them busy on rainy days like today and when you're all stuck inside together. It is also a great sensory activity too. Right, Peanut? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So to prepare for this video, I searched the internet far and wide for the best recipe. I looked for simplicity and something that can be same day or multi-day. So let's start off with the ingredients. Here I have 3 1/4 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of instant yeast, 2 teaspoons of coarse salt, and 1.5 cups of water. So we first want to start by putting all the dry ingredients, which is the flour, yeast, and salt, in, right? Can you help me, Peanut? Yep. Good job, Peanut. Thank you. Can you put the yeast in? Awesome. Awesome. Now the salt. Woohoo! And then we want to take the whisk and just mix it all together because we want it to be all evenly distributed. Great. Now for a cool bread science fact. So, yeast here is actually a living organism. There is currently 160 different species of yeast living, and this one is called instant yeast. It comes in a little paper package, and this yeast organism lives dormant until it is activated by the water, which, in other words, the yeast is sleeping until the water comes and it wakes it up. Now, very good, Peanut. Can I see? Look at all that. You did a great job. And they have it all mixed together. Whoops, Daisy. That's okay, honey. And now, okay, we're going to take the whisk out, huh? Good job. And then we're going to slowly pour in the water. Yeah, slowly. Oh, hold on. Gentle. And we want to mix it in as the water's being poured in. We want to using either a wooden spoon or a spatula of some sort. Good job, honey. Thank you for your help. Very good. So, and now once everything is mixed together, we want to start shaping it. Yes, I know, honey. Now, for our next bread science fact. The reason you need the bread is you want to activate all the gluten inside the flour, and the gluten allows everything to stick together really nicely. And it is created from the proteins inside the bread interacting with the water. And by kneading it, you are ensuring the water is waking up all those little proteins and enzymes inside. So first we're going to use our spatula, make sure all the water gets absorbed. Thank you, honey. And then, after all the water is absorbed, we're going to take our clean hands and sprinkle a little flour on them to make sure the bread isn't going to stick to us. Now be warned, it is a little bit of a messy activity, especially for the little ones. You got flour all over your hands, honey? Good job. Now dust it off, and then we want to start mixing. Start mixing it all.
Me.
Yeah, you keep doing it. Good job, honey. We want to do this until we feel like it's been all well mixed. So after you have kneaded the bread and made it into a nice little ball shape in your bowl, and your child is thoroughly entertained by playing in the flour, it's time to cover it, to let it rise. Ooh, some on my fingers. You can use either plastic wrap, some aluminum foil, or even a clean cloth. And you just want to cover it nice and tight right here. And then leave it sitting for about 2 to 3 hours in room temperature, so just out on your counter as you go about your everyday. Now for another bread science fact. When the water wakes up all the little yeast organisms, the yeast starts eating all the sugars in the bread. And this creates a chemical reaction, releasing carbon dioxide, which allows the bread to rise. And this is what's going to happen after while it sits. The dough is going to rise from the yeast. And the sugar, it comes from the starch in the flour, which is produced while interacting with all the enzymes, which is also in the flour. Now, time to go wait 2 to 3 hours.
As you can see from the before and after images, the dough has risen a considerable amount.
So now it's been about 3 hours, and we're going to check on the dough. Take off the aluminum foil, and as you can see, it has like doubled and about tripled in size. So, and at this point, we have two choices. We can either work it a bit more and then put it on a sheet nonstick pan or a piece of parchment paper and put it in the oven, or we can put it in the fridge up to 3 days and have it stay there and rise a bit more. And we want to put it in the fridge so that way it doesn't ferment. So today I'm just gonna plop it right in the oven. I'm gonna work it a bit, get it all ready, and I'm gonna cook it, bake it. So first we want to even though I do have a nonstick pan, I want to flour it. This will make the bread easier to come off, and because the dough is still very sticky. Flour the pan. Good. And then flour my hands to work with it, because as we saw, it gets very sticky and clumps to you. And as you can see from all the air bubbles, that's all the yeast releasing the carbon dioxide and rising it. Let's get it out of it. And as you're working it, it will deflate a little bit, and that's perfectly normal. So don't worry. It's just part of the process. And we want to work it on a piece of counter. Make sure we flour the counter on a clean counter, or you can use parchment paper as well. Get it all unstuck. Yeah. Now you can see it's gotten very large. You want to work it. Try and get it in that desired shape. Now you can either make it into an artisan shape or round as well, or you can put it in a loaf pan. So, as you can see, my little assistant isn't here this time around, but that's okay. She is happy playing. But I think in honor of my wonderful daughter, I am going to try and shape it in front of the pan and do something a little fun. Put it on the pan. I'm going to start shaping the dough, getting it ready, stretching it out. Now, if you have multiple kids at home, you can also divide it up using a sharp knife, and they can each make their own little piece of. And so after spending a long time working and kneading the dough, I was able to get into my desired shape, a nice little pea. And you definitely want a large pan because it will expand, not only in width, but also in height. So, and then before all this, we have to make sure the oven is set to 475, and we want to make sure the bread is put in at 475 and not earlier while it's heating up, because that will affect the bread. So, now that the oven's all filled up, all heated up, let's put in the bread. And now it is recommended about 25 minutes, depending on how large of a loaf you did. If you added a bit extra, you might want to do a bit more. I'll set the timer for 25 minutes, and I'll see you in 25 minutes.
After those 25 minutes, take the bread out of the oven. Leave it to rest for about 5 minutes, and then cut yourself a nice fresh slice and enjoy it with some butter, peanut butter, Nutella, jam, or anything that tickles your fancy. Thank you for joining us for our second at-home children's program activity. I hope to see you all again next week. Bye for now.